Welcome to the Women in Business radio show with Sian Murphy, connecting women in business around the globe.
Hello and welcome into the Women in Business radio show studio. Oh, my mic sounds a little bit echoey. What do you think? Does yours sound echoey? Is it me?
Is it me? How do I sound?
Oh, you sound okay.
Yep.
Why do we never manage to get on air in one piece, do we? I'm either falling off the chair or the microphones are wrong, but never mind. Here we are. We're in the studio. I'm Sian Murphy. Let me introduce my co-host. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself, actually. Go on, Adelle.
Hi, so I'm Adelle Martin. I'm the co-host. That's not echoing. No,
You're not echoing.
That's good then.
So who else have we got in the studio with us today? We've got the lovely Jackie Groundsell, who is the CEO and founder of 1230 The Women's Company.
Hi.
And is also known as the networking queen. And also in the studio we've got Debbie Lloyd-Smith, who is the founder of DLS Candles.
Hello, good morning everyone.
And we are going to be talking about, well, I'm not quite sure, networking, I think. We're going to be talking about networking. The ins and outs of networking, following up, I don't know, all sorts of things. Whatever happens to arise, because I think networking is something that people are always talking about as a way of growing a business, and yet sometimes it's one of those things that people get so confused about, and I think especially after a couple of years of lockdown, are actually finding a little bit challenging.
Interesting you should say that, because that's exactly what I did yesterday with our meeting, was a refresher.
So I also think there's sometimes a little bit of confusion about what networking is, that you have to go somewhere that says, hey, this is networking.
Like the toilet,
yeah,
or something like that.
It's networking. This is networking, and off you go, and you arrive, and you do networking, and then you leave. But I think networking is something that we do all the time. It just doesn't have to sound quite as... I think sometimes networking sounds a bit divisive, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I get asked, when did you start networking? And my answer to that is, when I was born. Yeah. Because it's about communication, it's about contact.
Yeah. Whereas when we say, hey, we're going networking, it makes it sound, I think it makes
bit heavy.
Contrived. I think it does, yeah. So... let's start off with, I don't know, one of our regular slots, which is, we're going to do Book of the Week. What have we learnt this week? A quote, a tool. And what else do we do? Do we do anything else with that? No, that's it. You think, I'm going to write it down.
No, it's 4. No, it's the usual 4.
Have you got a book?
Yeah.
Good-o.
I finished the other one.
Right, hang on a minute. I want to try turning your microphone down, because I think it's you that's making the buzz.
Is it?
Oh, Adelle.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Is it me?
It's green.
Is it
it's
me?
Green. Yes. Can you... I'll tell you what, we do it on the hoof here. All right?
Okay. This is a live show, I'll tell you.
We are dynamic.
We are live.
Can you move you don't have to move yourself. Can you move over to the pink microphone, please? Let's try that one. Yeah. We're just waiting for Debbie to move, and yes, that's what all the clunking is.
Yeah.
We're not.
It's
we're
my
not
candles
we're
as
not,
well.
We're not posh here. We're real. Can you switch? Can you just move yourself around a bit, Debbie?
All right.
So that I can see you. Otherwise, it's quite difficult to have a conversation. And look at that, the hissing has gone.
Yeah.
Is that better?
It is. Yes.
Yeah, right, we need to put a post-it note on green.
Perfect. Yes. You see.
Do I need?
Right. Okay. So, let's get on with our Book of the Week. And what have we learnt this week? Are you going to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Book of the week. So I finished my homework. So I have now switched to fiction. So I'm reading even, Adelle, Balancing Kind of Love by Joanna Cates, who was our guest a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I have picked up her second book.
So this is the saucy author.
Yeah, it is, and so I'm halfway through it.
Is it saucy?
Yeah, it's good. Love it, and I'm now the sassy reader. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Debbie needs to change her headset.
Hang on. No. You're absolutely fine. Can you hear me?
I can.
That's all that matters.
Fine.
I'll tell you what.
Yes, I can.
It's all about.
It's important.
Priorities.
If you can, you don't worry about anybody else. As long as you can hear me, it's all.
I can.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Okay. what have you learnt this week? Have you got something that you've learnt this week? Or
Yeah.
I'm just sort of like smearing it out and hedging because I haven't.
Because you haven't. You're writing, aren't you, as you speak? Yeah. So what have I learnt this week? I think we, as always, we had a bit of a chat ahead of the show, and we were talking about it feels a bit difficult out there at the moment. When every time you turn on the headlines, it's the news saying cost of living and etc. So I had a bit of a tough week with business development. So for me, my lesson is do not give up. Okay, you've got your message, you know where you're going, and then I had a literally a very short call yesterday, and people said to me, "Yeah, I get it, Adele. Great, let's do this." So I had my faith restored after probably 2 weeks of what I felt like just talking into a vacuum. But you just got to keep getting up. So it's never give
and
up.
In fact, we've got a show. We've got a show about that in a couple of weeks, haven't we?
That's what I've learnt this week. Is, you know what? If you know what you're doing, and I checked with a trusted network, they said, "No, you're doing the right thing. Just keep going. Just keep banging these doors down." And that's what I've learnt this week. I'm not going to give up. That's it.
No, come too far.
Yeah.
But. Not giving up is not the same as not changing, is it?
Oh no, I have adapted. Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes you do have to adapt. You have to look at what you're doing and make a shift.
Yes, I've adapted the messaging. That's what I've done. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I'm not saying that's it. I'm going to stick with it. You're absolutely right, Shana. I'm just adapting the message. That doesn't mean
because business isn't static. You can't just carry on doing the same thing and hope it's all going to be okay.
We know that's stupid.
So, Jackie, have you got a book?
No.
Oh, no.
Well, I have got several books, but I haven't. Unfortunately, when I stop and go to read, I fall asleep. Not because the book is boring, but because I'm tired.
It could be an audio book.
It could.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll come back to you if you think of one.
But sorry, are you not going to ask me what I've learnt this week?
No, we're going to come back to that. I did all of that wrong because I did it all in one go because I can't see my notes because the light's in the wrong direction. But never mind. Debbie, have you got a book that you are currently reading that you might like to talk about? It doesn't matter if it's a story book or a business book.
I have bought a phrase book.
A
Turkish phrase book because actually I'm heading off with my 19-year-old son next month. We're going interrailing, so I do need to know a few languages. So I bought a Turkish phrase book and just...
I would only need one, which would be a bottle of wine and one glass, please.
I have bought some disposable glasses for my travel. So
like that.
we're going on a little adventure for a month.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. I can't imagine spending a month with any of my children, and I'm sure they can't. I think it's okay for Sunday. I don't think they'd want to spend a month with me. But moving swiftly on. What are we going to do? I think I'm going to talk about my book of the week and what I've learnt because they're actually together. They're together. So my book of the week is something that probably nearly everybody who has done anything in business or whatever has probably come across. And that's The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Has everybody heard of that? Right, okay. And I tried reading this about 3 years ago. And do you know, it was really heavy going. I couldn't get it. And I had to put it down after one chapter. I thought, I've got no idea what this bloke's on about. None at all. So I put it down and there it stayed. And then I found his podcast on Audible, where you can also find the Women in Business Radio show, by the way. Yes, we're there. So I found his podcast on Audible and I just started listening to it. And now I get it. So he has a podcast with Oprah on Audible where he talks about the power of now. And basically, I'm sure you will all have heard of that. I suppose it's sort of mindfulness and being in the present moment and not letting and sort of becoming aware of when your mind is running away with you, racing forwards, catastrophizing, thinking about what's likely to happen in the future, thinking about what happened in the past. And instead of focusing on what's actually happening now. What I've learnt is that, and I don't want to be dissing anybody else, but But you know all of those books about you can get productive, you can do this, you can do this, how 25 things you can do before breakfast, how to change your habits, all of this sort of thing that I have actually been trying to do and going through all of the books. And all the books are really, really good. I have to say they're all really, really good, but I'm still reading them, okay? If not the same book, a different book, but it's all basically the same thing, is how to get better, how to be better, how to be more productive, how to be better at whatever. And what I know is if you don't get this stuff that Eckhart Tolle is talking about, you are not going to get better. There isn't anything that you actually need to improve. You're not broken. And it doesn't matter how many books you read about changing your habits. If you keep going back and back and back and you find that you're reading more books or reading the same book, or you're still trying to change the same habit and you still haven't solved it, or you're still trying to get better and you're still feeling that you're not enough, you've got to read this. Because but the other thing is that you're not actually going to solve anything in 5 minutes. This is not a quick fix. This is a much longer journey, but you have to start somewhere. And it's a lot deeper. And that when we look at the other books, a lot of them out there, it's all just surface stuff. And distinguishing between actually learning things, like I think there are techniques that we can learn to be more productive. I think there are ways that we can block out our diaries, or the things, that we can approach things in different ways, and we can improve. But I think that's very, very different to trying to change your habits and trying to change how you're behaving and how you're feeling and how you're acting. And those, for me, are now very distinct.
Yep.
And that there is no point in trying to change who you are or what you're doing or how you're feeling or what your habits, if you like, or anything like that, until you do this much deeper stuff. And it's going to take a lot longer, but you've just got to get started.
I like that.
So that's what I've learned.
Do the deep work first.
Yeah.
I like that. Right, I've written that down. I'm going to go back over it. But like you said, though, as you either mature in age or in your business, you go back to some of these books and you just take... You're more ready for it, aren't you? And you get more out of it. I think sometimes it's a matter of timing, isn't it?
I think, number one, it's a matter of timing, but also I think hearing it on a podcast actually made a difference.
Yeah,
but I had to keep listening to it because it all sounded a bit loopy. Actually, when something sounds a little bit like a cult, and you're thinking, okay. But the more I listened to it, the more sense it made. Actually, because I think I was listening to it with my very rational, here I am, sort of pragmatic head on. But then when I actually started hearing what he was saying and thinking about what he was saying, I'm thinking, it's just not as cut and dried as that. So I don't know why, perhaps something in the air, something in me said, actually, now's the time to start absorbing this. So I have put away all of my change your habits, you can be better, get up before 5. Start doing this, stop doing that. All of that lot has gone. I've wasted so much time doing it, but you feel okay, don't you? You feel like you're actually doing something. You feel, okay, this is an activity, this is an action. I'm taking action, and for a while it feels okay until it slips by and you think, oh God, 3 weeks ago I read that book and I started doing that, and I forgot. Oh, well, never mind. I will find another book. I'll start again. So that's what I've learnt, and I've waffled on for so long I've forgotten where we are. Where are we up to?
Learn. Jackie's learned. I've done my learn.
Jackie, what have you learnt this week?
Just an observation in what you were saying just then, Sian, if I may. It doesn't seem so long ago that you were saying to me you were totally sick of mindfulness stuff. Has this book that you're now reading just put a whole new slant on that for you?
It is sort of mindfulness, but it goes a bit deeper than that, actually. It goes a bit deeper than that.
Oh, okay. So what I've learned now, for this very moment, is what Adelle was saying about the need to be flexible. And again, just mentioning what she was saying about how people are feeling a bit strange in some ways, but still that constant thing coming through for the meetings that I have and the people that I'm talking to is about the need for support. Support is just at that consistent thing for everybody, and people are feeling a bit strange. What's going on out there? I mean, last week was really peculiar. Every day for me there was something that was a bit wake you up a bit more. So learning, always learning. Just day to day is a constant learning process.
I don't remember saying I'm sick. I sort of do remember saying I'm sick to death of people talking about mindfulness. And Jackie, I know that you remember every damn thing. That's so many. But it is about adapting. And I think the other thing is
it's the flexibility, which is what
it is.
Adelle
And
touched on.
I was and I am still sick to death of people talking about mindfulness when there isn't any depth or explanation behind it, or perhaps it was me that wasn't looking for it. I'm not.
But that's
I'm
what
not
I'm
quite
saying.
sure.
Has this book given you a whole new light on stuff?
Yes, because I have since, I can't remember when I said this, but it must be a little while ago, I have since found some excellent books on mindfulness. I can't remember who it was. One of them was recommended by Ruby Wax, who people may know has had, who wrote Frazzled, and I can't remember the other thing that she wrote. But she signposted towards a book which was by her professor, which I can't remember his name, Mark something or other. It's not very helpful, really, is it? And that was very good, but it still it didn't explain it on this level. But you have just got to stick with it. You know, you've got to stick with this, the power of now thing, because it is. So when you read it sort of on the surface, it's like, oh my goodness me, I don't think I've got the time for this. But perhaps you reach a point where you have to make the time. So that's what I've learnt. So yes, flexibility. Debbie, have you learnt anything this week?
What have I learnt this week? I joined a group in Westmoreland for Ladies That Latte. And I met some wonderful ladies in that group, all positive, very professional. And I came away feeling really uplifted, actually. And they're all women of sort of my age, 50 and over. Very, very positive, very inspirational. And I think that's what I've learnt this week. And I will surround myself with positive women want to move forward.
And come down here then, we're realistic. We've moved away from positivity.
Yeah.
I don't like positivity, actually. The truth is what we need. Is the truth.
Reality.
But Ladies Who Latte, and especially the one, let's give a shout out to Ladies Who Latte in East Malling, because it is a fantastic group. Now that's East Malling in Kent. It's a superb group. There's also Emma Thorpe runs Ladies Who Latte in Chatham. But Ladies Who Latte is an international organisation. If you Google Ladies Who Latte, you may well find a Ladies Who Latte, if not actually in your town, very close to your town. And the great thing about them is that they run from sort of 10 o'clock in the morning until midday, so you don't have to get up at stupid o'clock. It's designed, it sort of works around women, and very often our time schedules, my time schedule is nothing to do with kids anymore, so I can't talk before 10 o'clock. So that sort of suits me quite nicely. Also, they're incredibly cheap.
Yes,
they're about £3. You pay for your coffee. So it's international. I know so many of our listeners are from the States. You know, over 50% of our listeners are in the USA. So, ladies, you will probably be able to find a Ladies Who Latte. They're really, really friendly. Go along and join in. So thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad to give them a shout out. Are we on to a quote?
We are.
Have you got one?
I have this week, and it's always up front for me, and it's people very rarely remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel.
Unless Jackie, of course. Jackie remembers what I say.
Yeah, she does, actually. That's what about right, that guy's like, in brackets, but not Jackie.
Yes. So, I mean, that's right.
Only important people.
I'm sure she sits there and goes, so this is what Sian said, so I'm going to save that.
No, and do you know what? And I think it comes down to what we talk about, what you said right at the start, is communication and how you engage with people. And for me, and again, I'm not going to creep into networking, but it's that whole business development about farming and building relationships, as opposed to going in, sticking your business card under somebody's nose and going, this is what I do. So for me, I always think about, it's not necessarily what I say, but it's how I make people feel, and that's how they're going to remember me. And I've just bought, I love her quotes, but I've bought that one up today, this week. It's on my pinboard.
It's on your thing.
It's on my thing.
Yes. Jackie, have you got a quote? You don't have to have one. No. Debbie, have you got a quote that you like?
No.
Okay, I'm going to come up with my own. I'm sure somebody else has said this. It's about embracing uncertainty, and I don't really like the term embrace, but at the moment everything is, as far as I can see, very uncertain. People are feeling uncertain. Certainly in the UK, we've got price rises, everything's going on, none of us really know where we are. And I think it's affecting quite a lot of people. It's affecting how we feel, it's affecting what people are buying, it's affecting our businesses, all sorts of things. The thing is, everything is uncertain. Everything we do in life is uncertain. It's just a few things have brought it to the fore, and we have to get used to living with it. We have to find a way of acknowledging it and dealing with it. So I'm not sure embrace uncertainty is the right. Maybe accept uncertainty. As human beings, we are wired not to want uncertainty. We are wired to want certainty, and it ain't going to happen.
No.
So it's causing, I think that's what's causing a lot of the problems at the moment. So accept it. It's there. It's there for you. It's there for your potential clients. And we just have to move forwards with it, because it's not going to change.
But we don't have to accept the uncertainties, just that there are uncertainties. I'm guessing you're saying.
Yes, yeah. I think there's this sort of nebulous, nobody really knows where they are at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's making quite a lot of people feel quite sort of discombobulated and detached, and they don't want to commit. And I think it's caused a sort of, like, in the fight, flight or freeze response, I think it's caused an almost sort of like a freeze response. And a lot of people are actually quite static at the moment.
Yeah.
And
that's why the support thing is so important.
Yeah.
But our lives are uncertain. Not wanting to be a little harbinger of doom, but anything could happen at any given moment. I could leave here tomorrow. I could leave here now. Not tomorrow. I'm not going to be here all day.
It's a long show.
I could leave here now. I could leave here now and be hit by one of those great big trucks coming off the thing.
But that could always have been the case.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. That was always the case. And I think we push that to the background. But at the moment, we're having other things shoved into our foreground, and it's affecting people.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because I was in a call and we were talking about that, and one of them said, well, that's it then, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait for this uncertainty. I'm going to relaunch my programme in September. And I just threw it out there and I said, this whole business model of create, enthusiasm, launch, then close the doors and then launch again, is that, for me, uncertainty's here. So what will you get from
between now and then?
And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm moving away from this boom and bust. The doors are always open, and I'm just going to keep going, tweaking my message and going. And I just said to them, be very cautious, because I can't see what you think is going to be different in September than today. Because every time the news comes on,
so
it's the same.
I tell you
it's
what,
not going to get better.
Else.
So I just said to these people with this whole concept of this business model to launch, just be careful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to. That's my personal opinion. Is I'm not doing that.
I think we've had a lot of uncertainty compounding over the last 2 years, haven't we? We've had, am I going to get COVID? What's happening? We didn't know what was happening, and then I don't know about you, but it was suddenly an awful lot worse than I thought. I deferred my events for 3 weeks when it first started, and I thought, well, that's all right. Okay, I'll stop them now, and I'll run the April ones.
Well, I caught COVID, didn't I, Sian? I was due to go to your big event, the Women in Business big show. And I had to cancel a couple of days before. I ended up and I got COVID.
Yeah, and so it was, am I going to be able to run this event, and not actually realising that the 3 weeks that I thought I would defer it for was going to go on for 2 years. Am I going to catch COVID? Is a member of my family going to catch COVID? Are my exhibitors going to catch COVID? How many people are going to come in through the door because they either have COVID or are frightened they're going to get COVID? So we had all of that lot going on, didn't we? Now we've got Ukraine, we've got Russia, we've got price hikes, we've got all sorts of things that I think seem to have they've all sort of landed, haven't they? But landed slowly over this sort of 2-year period. It's been building and building and building and building. And I think part of the expectation was that it would all just end. Like the COVID situation would just stop and we'd all ping back to normal. Yeah.
But when have we ever had a normal?
Exactly. I think it was such an extreme situation, that I think everybody, everybody, that's a bit of a bland statement, but so many people, me included, was just sort of expecting that it would just like ping back. And the events would open and everything would be just exactly the same as it was before. When I look back now, how daft is that to ever think that could happen? But it's this compounding of uncertainty, which I think has been building and building and building, and it's still ongoing, and it's quite likely to get worse. In the UK, our bills are likely to go up again in October for energy, and on we go. Well, we can't, as you say, Adelle, we can't carry on going, I'll stop doing that and I'll start it again in whenever.
Keep going.
We have to keep going.
Fix forward.
We have to. It is going to be uncertain. We have to accept that. We have to accept the uncertainties that there are and adapt to them, and that's it.
And absolutely, we're talking about support, and that's what I said to sort of the people that I was with. Is that, like for me, I've had some lessons last week, so I fixed the message and I'm moving forward. I'm not, I'm going to wait until my audience. No, you've got to keep adapting. And I think the people that are going to stay in business over the long terms are the ones that are going to accept uncertainty or accept that's the business environment now. But you're going to have to keep asking your customers, test and learn, agile, change and shift. And I think that's going to be the longevity of somebody that's going to survive.
I also think with the uncertainty thing is wait. Actually, don't overreact. Wait. Yeah. Just give things a little bit of time. And that's really quite hard to do, actually, because I think sometimes we get into panic mode. But just wait. Don't throw everything out. Just spend some time to sit and think with it. Listen to what people are saying to you. Have some conversations. Look at what's going on. Don't make snap decisions and throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Have a tantrum, but for a few minutes and then get on with it. Yeah. That's what I do. I love my moment.
It's just to stop. It's just to stop and regroup and think about what you're doing and where you're going before you just go, oh, well, that's not working, is it? This is me talking. Well, that's not working, is it? Well, just get rid of that and start something else.
Well, if you remember, rather with 12:30, which we haven't sort of said what any of us do in that sense, but with my meetings, my in-person meetings, I couldn't manage, if you like, the fact of, oh, well, we'll put it off for a week, we'll put it off for a month, we'll do this. I just made the decision that I would take all our meetings online, and our in-person ones I aimed for starting 2022. And touch wood, that's worked out, because I didn't then have all this rescheduling. It was just a decision that was made and we went forward on there. But I mean, that's easier said than done. We can all make these decisions and never know where they're going to go.
I went for rescheduling everything. And thank you, Jackie, for pointing out that I haven't actually done what I said I would do. I can always rely on you for that, can't I? Thank you. But then nobody out there knows what any of us do, because I haven't said what I do. Adelle hasn't said what she does.
I'm just thinking about Adelle, because she was saying about having some lessons, and I thought, does the wide world audience know what Adelle's lessons would be?
So we are going to, when we finish this bit, we're going to get to the main topics. Then, Jackie, you will have your chance to say what you do. Adelle, make a note, needy guests.
I've done it.
Right there, Dan.
Adelle, make a note. Slap for a Sian later on.
Oh God, I've caught in the middle. Actually, guys, if we was on TV, I am in the middle of them both.
I've just made a little note by her name.
Oh dear.
Okay, I've totally forgotten where I tall. Okay, Adelle, have you got a tool?
I have actually.
I have to say, this is something that you might use to help grow your business. It's not a person.
No.
Okay.
Not this week.
Yeah, no.
No. So because I am adapting the business, so there is something I use called Simple Booklet, which is a really great way of getting an ebook out that you can charge for. But guess what? Because this week they've released a new version of it where you can put a video on the front of it. So rather than just send in the link and buy my ebook, you can actually put a really great video on the top of it that brings to life a bit more. So again, that's what I have done this week. So I'll be recording videos and then adding it to Simple Booklet. And I've got all of my booklets. Some of you can keep private, so I've got private ones, and then I've got ones that I can sell. So it's really good. It just gives that bit more of that personal feel, so they get to know you.
I think you can do that with designer as well, can't you?
Simple Booklet. I'm going to say what mine is now, because I want to move on and get on to the key topic. So I have got a really cool tool I found a couple of weeks ago called Review, which is a newsletter tool. So it's a way of creating and publishing very, very simple newsletters. It's owned by Twitter. If you have a Twitter account and you use RSS feed, so if you have a podcast, for instance, which you have an RSS feed for, it's a super tool. It doesn't that you can't put surveys in it. It doesn't have autoresponders. It doesn't have anything that you might expect to have in what should we call it? Some of the more sophisticated newsletter tools. Which and this is the thing, is I have all of those tools. I have quite a few of them. And I know how to use them, okay? But I prefer this.
And what's it called again?
It's called Review. R-E-V-U-E. R-E-V-U-E. Review. It might be Get Review. It's just so simple. So you put I'm not going to explain what RSS feeds are. If you know what they are, you'll know how this works. You can pull the RSS feed into this tool, and then you can just pull your podcast and your episode over, but you can also pull tweets over. So if you've tweeted something out, you can pull that in, and you can just send it out. It will go automatically to Twitter, and it goes to Medium as well. So it publishes direct to Medium.
I like that.
And here's the key thing: you can have two levels. You can have free, and then you can have a membership level, and you can link it to your Stripe account, and you can charge a membership level, and the whole thing just hooks together. I'll tell you what, it took me, now bearing in mind I do this sort of thing, so I don't want to raise expectations, it took me about 15 minutes to work out how to use it and set up a paid membership level for $5. You can do whatever you want, but I thought $5. What I'm planning on doing is getting guests, people who are on here, people who want to support the show, who can see some value in it, to just go and subscribe for 6 months or a year at £4 a month or something. I don't think it's it's too much to ask. The thing is, it was so simple. It's so simple, and it's free.
Yeah,
it's free. You don't have to pay anything.
You use the free version.
It's a whole thing. There isn't a paid version.
Oh, I thought you said there was a free and a membership.
No, you can set up. So I have a free version of the newsletter where you can just get that and you subscribe and you get the free newsletter sent to you. But I've also set up a paid newsletter. I'm not paying Review. People are paying me.
Paying you. I get
people
you.
are paying me. So there isn't. You don't have to pay. Now, like I say, it is not going to do what things like Constant Contact do. It isn't going to do what Zoho Campaigns does, what Aweber does, all of that sort of thing. But I tell you what, sometimes you just don't need all that stuff. Sometimes you just don't need it. So, Get Review is my tool of the week.
I like that.
Right, I want to move really quite quickly now on to networking. So let's introduce Jackie properly. So it's Jackie Groundsell, who is Jackie, we don't want any sulking.
Have you ever seen me sulk?
Yes. Who is the CEO, founder of 1230, the women's company. And I've seen you get quite stroppy when I've put the apostrophe in the wrong place or left it out.
Stroppy, yes, sulk though.
So 1230, the women's company. Tell us just a little bit about the networking structure of how it works.
Okay, thank you, Sian, for that opportunity. 1230, the women's company, is lunchtime networking for business women, which you touched on, Sian, about the times of day. It's important that we all eat, so lunchtime is a great opportunity to actually be working on our business, but also having some lunch. For anybody who's going to come to our meeting, the structure of each group is templated, if you like, which I'll tell you in just a sec. But what makes it different is that we have a host every meeting. They chair the meetings. the people who go are often different from group to group and location. And, of course, the venue is different. So there's a different feel to all of them, but the constant one is something that I touched on earlier, and that's the support that's there. Everybody gets an opportunity to give a 1-minute talk, the structure of which, as I wave in front of the microphone so you can see, is in our little cards that everybody gets.
And this, hang on, I have to say, Jackie is a radio show herself and has just put a leaflet in front of the microphone.
I know. Well, everybody can see that.
I don't know. It's not often I'm speechless.
No, well, that's just the point. You can see, and so you now know. It's in front of the microphone. So there you are. Telepathy works. So everybody gets the opportunity to introduce themselves in that way, and it is timed because it then focuses everybody on what they're actually telling people about their businesses. And I tend to think that the opportunity is not about what you do, it's about what you offer. We sometimes have speakers and we have occasional workshops before the meetings, which are free for people coming to the meetings. We're a membership organisation. We have an early bird membership and a standard membership fee. And, of course, that gives people extra benefits, etc.
So, fair to say, it's a lunchtime networking group. Groups. But if I was coming along to one, I'm probably coming along to a group. I'd be coming along and joining a group in my area. So, if I was brand new to business, and I'm thinking, how can I meet some other people, and how can I perhaps start promoting my business? Because that's sort of what, if we don't ever make sales, if we don't ever make any money, it's not a business, are we? Is it? So, all right, we can have all sort of lovely reasons why we're going networking, but really we want to grow our business, don't we?
That's the whole point of network. So, you haven't got a business if you don't network.
So imagine I don't know what I'm doing. It's not that difficult, is it? Imagine I've just started up in business, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, thinking, hey, here's this group, I'm going to go along. What would you be saying to me as a complete newbie in business and networking?
Well, first of all, if it is somebody that's totally new, I'd be aware of that person who was totally new actually coming to the meeting. And if I wasn't going to be at the meeting myself, I would, in any event, brief the host so that she knows that this person is brand new, and make sure that she's actually introduced to other people and involved in conversation.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because I think this is key. Okay, so if you have spoken to somebody prior to going networking, so the host, if you like, or the person who organises it, and they know that you are new, not necessarily to business, but new to that network. So it's not one of those ones where you just turn up and there's hundreds of people in a room, but they know you're going, your name is on a list, and they don't welcome you and look after you on your first visit. And make sure that you're included, okay, and you're feeling a bit out of it, all right, this is not on you.
No.
It's them. That's their job. That's what they should be doing. Whether it's free or paid, that's what they should be doing. Yeah. Totally different if you arrive and there's loads of people in a room and nobody knows you're there and you've just turfed up and everybody's just wandering around getting cups of coffee. That's very different. If they know you're on your way and they haven't done anything, don't go again.
No, exactly, and that is absolutely key to that. And I think it's that's really, really important that people are aware and that you are involved. And if you are going to any of the larger events that you just touched on, Sian, so often I get asked, well, what do I do? There's a group standing there. What do I do? Sometimes people will say, well, I'll just barge in. I tap them on the shoulder and I go in. You don't know what they're talking about. They could be sealing that $1 million deal, or they could just be horrible people and you don't want to talk to them anyway. But walk away. There'll be somebody else getting the coffee queue. Go to the toilet. I mean, I think toilets are really useful places to get into conversation.
They get you out. They get you out the room as well. But I tell you what, that is so key, isn't it? Because people they really don't know what to do, and sometimes it's like all manners and common sense. some people think that they don't apply in a networking event, that it is okay to go up. I call them card thrusters.
Oh my goodness!
That it's okay to go up when you're in the middle of a conversation and thrust their card. I have actually had this happen to me. I've been talking to somebody and they've come up and thrust their card 2 inches from my nose.
I know. I had that happen. I always remember at an event which was a one-off event. It wasn't a regular meeting as such. And I'd been talking to a couple of women, and I wandered off to sort of, I think, to get a drink, actually. And this woman did exactly that. She came up to me and she thrust her card at me and said, "Take my card." And I said, and I was feeling a bit, not sulking, but a little bit sharp.
A bit sassy.
Yeah, sassy.
I like sassy.
And I said, it'd been a long day. And so I said... So I said, "Why do I want your card?" So she said, "Because you organise events and I organise events and I can help you." And I said, "But not to give up, you see." I said, "So, yes, but why should I have your card for that reason?" "Well," she said, "because I can help you." And I said, "Oh, okay." By that time, I sort of got fed up.
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, on that basis, here's my card." I took hers and put it in the bin as I went out. You know, but it doesn't work. It's not the way to do it. And in olden days, networking was a really, really rude word because it was about hard sales.
Yeah, it was,
People didn't want to talk to you unless you could buy their product or their services. But now, I looked, when we first started the business, I looked for another word that would say it all but still be networking. And it was actually very difficult. So we sort of stuck
It is, because sometimes, what do you call a companion? I mean, sometimes if you're not too careful, it ends up sounding creepy, doesn't it? Something that you really don't want to be going to at all.
But I think now it's very recognised. It is about, I know different networks have different ways of working, but with 1230, we are about building relationships. We are about touching and making sure that people get the support they need. For example, a member gets 45 minutes, and it's usually an hour and a half of my time as part of their package. And that can be about anything. It can be about the support and guidance perhaps that they need of when they actually go networking, or it can be to help them with their business problems that they've got, and we do a bit of brainstorming or whatever. Or they might be having problems with a knitting pattern. I can help them with that as well. So, it just depends.
Are your groups large? How many?
Currently, now this at the moment, it's almost like we're starting again. Our groups are anything from about 8 to 15, 16, those sort of numbers. So it is a good size because everybody gets the opportunity to talk to each other properly. And there's no constraints on that in any way.
What you've just said about it's almost like we're starting again, I'm finding that with the events, with the footfall through the door, it is. In fact, it's worse than starting again.
Well, it is for us actually, because when we started back in 2002, we launched officially, but we'd been trundling along before that. There were no networks for business women. There was BNI, there was BRE in terms of larger networks, but actually there was nothing there for women. So there was this huge audience of women who had no support, had no means of connection with other business women. So whilst we did a lot of work in making that work for them, there was that captive audience. Now there are lots of people who say they're providing networking organisations, events and everything, and people have got to be... I mean, we always used to say to people new coming to us, try BNI, try BRE, see what you think, because they do single discipline. We don't do single discipline. And of course, we're a women's network. And being a women's network was something that we started by chance. There wasn't a big flash of light in the middle of the night that said, we must do something for women.
In fact, that single discipline thing that you've mentioned, we just ought to expand on that a little bit more. It's almost sort of quite obvious, isn't it? But there are some networking groups, they tend to be quite high premium groups, don't they? Where you join and you're sort of committed, and you are the only person in that group who does that.
That's right, yeah.
which I don't think is actually as good as it sounds.
I think it depends actually on your business.
It does.
I think
you just don't make assumptions actually, and I think you do need to be aware of the type of networking group that you're going along to.
Absolutely.
So is it one that is where you are going to be the only web designer, and don't just say, "Hey, isn't that absolutely fantastic? I must join. I'm the only web designer there." Just sort of do your research. I personally don't like them because of the referral networks.
I agree with you on that, but I do know that the ones that we're thinking of do work for people, for other people. I'm big on relationship building. I don't sulk. And I am big on relationship building.
Write that down. Repeats.
but it is.
Won't let it go.
No, but it is. I know, but there is that. It is important to try these things, and as I say, early days we should say go away and try them. And of course, you also touched on the fact that the prices are different for all of them. Just because you pay a lot doesn't mean to say you're going to get a lot value.
Yeah, and also what I say to women, because I'm in a mixture of both. But what's the problem you're trying to solve? We talk about before networking, because people say I'm going network, and I say actually networking is before, during and after. So why are you going to that network? Why have you chosen a more supportive one than perhaps a single discipline one? So I am in one single discipline one for a reason, and I'm also in a supportive one for a different reason. So I don't go in, I'm going networking and one's this and one's that. I go in with different intentions for both groups. So for me, always before you even look at networking, what's the problem you're trying to fix? What's the intent? And then that way, and the single discipline one works for me because of what I do.
So do you want to just get clients out of it, or are you looking for ideas, connection,
training, support,
perhaps some mentoring, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
And it's often a slow burn. I mean, it's not necessarily an instant thing,
no,
is it?
Not. But absolutely, as I say to women as well, you can't go to 2 and go, I didn't get anything out of that. No, you've got to go for, got to be consistent.
So I think you need to pick something that actually works for you consistently. If you live in Kent, going to a networking event as a one-off in Edinburgh probably isn't going to get you too far unless you're up there once a month. You just sort of need to. Is this something that I can continue doing if I make some good connections?
Absolutely.
Jackie, what do you think people need to, there you are, you're going networking. What do you think people actually need to take along with them? I'm not talking about you need to take the right attitude or anything like that. Actually, what do you need in your purse?
Well, there's a lot of thought because we're so digital now that we only need an e-card. That's fine if the internet's working. I'm a bit belt and braces, and I think you need a business card. Or a flyer. You need something, pen and paper to take notes. The number of meetings that I've been to where people are introducing themselves and nobody makes a note of anything. Never dismiss anybody. You never know what you can. It's not just about actually what you can get from them. It's can you actually help them? Is there something that is a connection that you can make for them? But so physically take along with you. If you like e-cards, do that as well. QR codes are now becoming very popular. I was always in favour of a QR code, but they never seem to catch on. But they are
funnily
now.
enough, they are becoming more.
Absolutely.
We use them as sign-up forms, even our monthly events now.
Yeah, no, I think I've always liked a QR code, but it's only as good as everybody else using it. That's the thing. So belt and braces, take your business card, take a flyer. If you are getting them done at the printers, although you can get them done very quickly now, make sure you've got pen and paper anyway. Always pen and paper.
I don't have business cards.
I know.
It's a little affectation of mine. But what I do have is I have some quite nice quality printed cards, quality cards. They're just like card, and if I meet somebody that I actually want to give my details to, I will write my name and whatever contact detail I want. So I have an office phone and a mobile phone, so I'll just write my name on it and give it to them, and that's it. I also tend to have flyers for the events and that sort of thing, and that I find works for me because I do quite a lot. I'm not quite sure what I'd put on a business card, but that's how I do it, and it costs hardly anything. It costs hardly anything to do, and you can take it along. And it means that you're ready. You know, if you've got a nice pen, some card-sized, bits of card, and I just write on it. And
well,
that's
I got caught out twice the other day because I'm always saying to everybody, make sure you have something on you because you never know. And we touched on the formal networking as well, and you can be at the school gates, you can be anywhere. But I got caught out twice. A few weeks ago, my husband had a replacement knee operation, so I've had the job of walking the dogs. And when I say job, you think, well, it's nice walking the dogs. But my husband, he insists that he does it normally. Anyway, 2 separate occasions, got in conversation with a couple of women, and they wanted to know, have you got anything? One of them pulled her phone out, took my details, put it on the phone, and the other one said, no, that's fine. I will remember that because I'll go home and write it. But because I've always got my phone on me, I've now got extra business cards inside my phone, which I hadn't got before. So, it is essential to have something.
Yeah. So what did you take, Debbie? You are. We've only got a couple of minutes with Debbie now, but we have another show with Debbie talking about her startup and her candles. You are so well put together. Your branding. I look at you and I think, oh my goodness. How does she do this?
Well, I have had help with my branding. My son actually, that's gone off to university now. He's 19 years old, and he actually designed I make scented soya candles, and he designed my logo for me. So, yes.
But it's you are branded. You match.
Do I match?
She does. This
Yes.
woman, okay.
Oh,
this
thank
woman
you.
matches her brand. She is wearing it, and I think that is such a powerful thing.
Yes.
I think you can't see Debbie's candles here. We will take pictures, but they're what I call they're like Harrods candles. They're not quirky. They're really you'd put them out to look smart. They also smell wonderful as well.
They do.
But and to see you as the whole thing, I think that's really key at networking, because I would remember you at networking.
Right.
So.
That might be down to, I used to work for BA as well as cabin crew, so
so you're used to having it together.
Yeah. I think that's key for me.
And so I think how I'm going to end it now, because we're at the end, is that keep it cool going along and networking. Don't bounce up and down. Have some simple stuff to take with you, but remember that it's the whole thing. It's people are going to remember you, as well as they're going to remember your business card and everything else that you have and that you do. Jackie, how can people get hold of you if they're interested in 1230, the Women's Company?
Oh, really nice and simple. All the W's and the numbers 1230.co.uk.
There we go.
And I'm on all the socials too.
So, we better go because we're at the end of the show. Thank you very much, Adelle, and Adelle's our co-host, so you see her every time. Thank you to Jackie Groundsell, 1230 The Women's Company. Thank you to Debbie Lloyd-Smith, DLS Candles, and we're going to be hearing more from Debbie in our next show. So take care, everybody. We will see you soon.
Tune in next week to the Women in Business radio show for more stories, ideas, and inspiration to help you grow your business.